Hey guys, welcome to Christina Cakes It. I'm Christina and today I'm making a horse cake. So this cake is very special because it is actually inspired by my sister-in-law Julia, who is just like the sweetest human being on this whole earth. So Julia loves horses, and in turn all of my nieces and nephews also love horses, and they spend a lot of time riding them. And it's just a really special part of their life. And I knew I wanted to do a cake for my sister-in-law Julia, and so I decided it'd be perfect time to do a horse cake for her. So as you guys can see, I already have a 4-layer chocolate cake ready to go that is frosted. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the fondant pieces. And you guys can see I just have some different shades of fondant here. And I did make these ears ahead of time, so I probably made these like an hour ago, just because I wanted them to harden because they are gonna stand up on our cake. So I will show you guys how I created these. So I am using my own homemade marshmallow fondant recipe. And to make the ears, I'm gonna roll the fondant out, but I'm actually going to want it pretty thick. As I mentioned, the ears are gonna stand up, and if they're thicker, they're just gonna be a little bit more stable. So I'm just gonna roll out my fondant. So what I'm using are actually from the fondant rose cutter set. You guys could definitely just make your own template, but I have found these actually work really well for ears. I use them for my reindeer cake as well. So I'm gonna cut out the large brown ear, and I wanted it to match the color of my cake as closely as possible. This is just some fondant that I colored ivory. And I'm using another smaller fondant rose cutout. And you can use water to adhere this, or Wilton Dab and Hold. Because it's a little bit warm, I find it actually just sticks right on there. And you, like I said, you are gonna want these to dry for a little bit. These dried in about an hour, so you can do them overnight if that's more convenient to you. So obviously I made 2. So that's how I made the ears. So my horse is going to have a stripe coming down the face here. So I did make a template. Shocker, I make one on like every animal cake. So the white stripe's gonna be about there, and then the horse's nose is gonna go over that. So I definitely recommend making some templates just so your sizing, you're gonna be happy with it. So I'm gonna use a white stripe. So my fondant was a little bit hard, like a little bit dry, so I just put it in the microwave for 7 seconds just to soften it up. You don't want to warm it up for too long, otherwise it becomes very hot and very sticky, so it's like a very touchy. Like I honestly usually start with like 5 seconds and just work in 5-second increments when my fondant is a little bit hard. So I'm going to roll it out. And I'm just gonna use my template. And I know, I just remembered, I'm gonna want this really thin because I'm putting the nose over it and I don't want it to show. Like the line, like when you layer it, sometimes you can see a line. And I don't want that. So the horse's nose is gonna go something like that. I'm gonna give him like little nostrils though. So I'm not sure what size I'm gonna use, so I'm just gonna play with it. So I'm just taking my dowel tool and kind of, or my ball tool and creating a horse nostril, which whoever thought I would be making one of these. And then let's see if that looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and shape this a little bit more. And to stick these on, I am gonna just paint a little bit of my Wilton Dab and Hold on the back. It would not be an episode of Christina Cakes It if I didn't use Wilton Dab and Hold. Wilton, sponsor me whenever you're ready. So it's gonna look something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start placing my fondant pieces on my cake, and I'm gonna start with my white stripe. So I'm just painting some Wilton Dab and Hold on the back of it. I actually think it's gonna stick just fine without it. Next, I'm gonna place the nose, and same thing, I'm just painting some Dab and Hold. And since this is a little bit thicker, I might have to hold it in place. And then for the eyes, I'm just going to like lightly sketch where I want them to go. And I'm just gonna take some black buttercream. And this is a very small round tip, and just follow the line I just made. Doing plastic surgery, guys. Now I am gonna wanna place the ears. So I'm just gonna stick this right on top and a cake pop stick behind it to support it. So I'm gonna add some details to my horse, and my horse definitely needs a flower crown. So I'm using a Wilton Tip 2D just with some buttercream icing, and I thought the pink would look really nice. So I'm gonna start by I always start in the back just so I can make sure they don't mess up. So I'm just gonna make a swirl. I might have to move the ear out of the way. So I'm gonna add some leaves as well. And I'm using Wilton Tip 352. I use this very often. And I'm just gonna carefully add some leaves. And so you can see that there's like a wider edge and like the narrower, like a V. So you want the V like not facing this way. So it's facing this way. And I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, pull. 1, 2, 3, pull. And I'm starting in the back. I just like to do that to make sure that like I get the hang of it before I 1, 2, 3, pull. 1, 2, 3, pull. 1, 2, 3, pull. The horse, of course, needs a mane. So for this, I've made various shades of brown, and so I'm going to carefully pipe in the center my rosette here. And I'm just gonna be piping more of the horse's mane along the top as well. And this mane is gonna go all the way down the back. So this is a Wilton 2D. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of white, once again starting in the back. And just a tiny bit of this dark shade in here. What I think it is I think that it needs a little bit more volume here. It needs double flowers. That looks much better. I'm gonna go ahead and add my ears back on. So I do want to add just some eyelashes to my horse to add a little bit more detail. So I'm just using Americolor Super Black Gel Food Coloring. I'm just going to paint these on here with a really fine paintbrush. All right, so my little horse cake is done, and I think it's very cute and very sweet. And to my nieces and nephews who watch me every single week, Asher, Avi, Kai, Kinsey, Declan, and Davin, I love you guys so much, and I hope that everybody enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel.